What's the most creative way you've outsmarted a strict teacher? In 10th grade, I had a math teacher named Mr. Harrison who was absolutely obsessed with one thing, showing your work. And I don't mean for difficult problems. I mean every problem. If the question was 9 into 6, he wanted a full explanation. If the answer was obvious, he somehow trusted it even less. One day, I got a quiz back and saw a giant red X through a perfectly correct answer. The problem was 50 minus 25. My answer was 25. Correct. But next to it, he wrote, no work shown. Half credit. I raised my hand and asked how I was supposed to show work for basic subtraction. He looked me dead in the eye and said, I can't grade what I can't see. I need to see your reasoning process. Reasoning process? Fine. You want the process? I'll give you the process. The next day, our homework had a problem that said 15 plus 12 is equal to what? Instead of writing one line, I wrote nearly an entire page. First, I established that 15 was indeed the quantity represented by the symbol 15. To verify this, I drew 15 stick figures and counted them individually. Then I confirmed that 12 was a separate quantity by drawing 12 more stick figures. Next, I discussed several possible methods of addition and explained why I selected one over the others. I even included a paragraph called Potential Risks and Challenges During Calculation. By the time I finally reached 27, my answer looked less like homework and more like a scientific research paper. The best part? Mr. Harrison couldn't say a word. I had shown my work, every single bit of it. A week later, he assigned another worksheet. This time the entire class joined me. Apparently everyone was tired of losing points for mental math. One student submitted a 6-page explanation for 7 into 8. Another included a hand-drawn flowchart. Someone else attached an appendix. An actual appendix. The next assignment was even worse. My friend Sarah turned in a stapled packet titled A Comprehensive Analysis of Why 18 plus 4 equals 22. It had a table of contents, page numbers, and a bibliography. The bibliography listed her calculator as a source. At that point, Mr. Harrison was getting visibly frustrated. Every afternoon, he carried home stacks of papers that looked thick enough to stop a bullet, but he kept insisting that detailed work was important. So naturally, we got even more detailed. The breaking point came during midterms. One question asked, 3 plus 2 is equal to what? Most students used between 8 and 12 pages. One guy submitted his answer in a 3-ring binder. Inside were labeled sections: introduction, methodology, data collection, peer review, conclusion, and my personal favorite, emotional reflections during the addition process. In that section, he wrote, at first I doubted myself. Could the answer truly be 5? The uncertainty weighed heavily upon me. I was crying laughing when I read it. The next morning, Mr. Harrison walked into class carrying the binder. He dropped it on his desk with a loud thud. Nobody said a word. He slowly looked around the room. Then he opened the binder, pulled out the emotional reflections page, and read it out loud. The entire class was trying not to laugh. When he finished, he just stood there staring at us for a solid 10 seconds. Finally, he sighed and said, new rule. For simple calculations, reasonable work is acceptable. The room erupted. We had won. But then one student raised his hand. Without missing a beat, he asked, sir, could you please define reasonable and provide supporting documentation? Mr. Harrison closed his eyes, took off his glasses, and whispered, I created a monster. For the rest of the year, nobody ever lost points for mental math again. And years later, at a school reunion, I ran into him. He recognized me immediately, shook his head, and said, you're the reason I added a page limit to all assignments. I smiled and replied, could you show your reasoning process for that conclusion? He turned around and walked away while everyone else laughed. Still the highest grade I ever got without solving a single math problem.